Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to another edition of, oh man, that's awful, coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans in Los Angeles. As always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Carl Kozlowski, and with me is...
Kevin Corcoran.
And our sound wizard...
Dr. David Robinson.
And this week, we're bringing you yet another hour of amazing tales, usually funny and awful, about an unusual aspect of life, as witnessed by and experienced by our guests. Today, I'm bringing you a couple of people who are fascinating and funny. One of them is Scott Schultz. He's the founder of Busted Los Angeles, which is an incredible series of storytelling shows, podcasts, videocasts, even a book of stories of people who ride the bus and trains in Los Angeles. And with him as well is KATYA DUFT, who's one of his prime storytellers in the Busted shows, and the founder and runner of the incredible blog Tales from the Bus. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome them. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Yes, good.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so how long has Bust have been going on? I mean, and how'd you get your start with it? I mean, it's a pretty incredible experience hearing these stories from people.
Well, Busted's having its 4th anniversary show on March 25th at Stories LA Books Cafe in Echo Park. We've been doing it there from the very beginning. We've actually already passed our 4th anniversary in February, but we like to have it, after the time moves on the clock, so that we have a little bit more sunlight. And I forgot what was the question.
I'm just asking how'd you get the start. Yeah, somebody's doing.
You forgot the only question. It's the only question he's asked you.
Oh man, that is awful.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The question was, how are you?
Doing great.
Okay.
Yeah. We've been doing Busted there, and we started because I ride the bus, and I'm a storyteller, and there's just so many great stories, when you ride the bus and when you ride the train in LA. And in LA, because less people actually have grown up with the bus and the train, because it is still a relatively new phenomenon, and people come from other parts of the country, aside from it makes more interesting stories and over time, we've developed a community of fellow what we call green commuters, who are like multimodal commuters who either ride bikes or take the bus and train, or maybe they drive to the train station and then take public transportation from there. And they have this self-pride in not driving or being multimodal, and it just kind of built from there. We've had over 125 live shows.
Wow.
And and it's just kind of built up from there.
And you started at Stories Los Angeles, or Stories the Bookstore and Cafe in Echo Park?
The jackets are off.
Passed out. Folks, we lost him.
The gauntlet is thrown.
It's like
Scott just blacked out.
If only we had video. I think we're going to start having video. Okay, so
Carl asked him
I
a
do the
question
web-
and he fell asleep.
when I do the web show, sometimes I could hear the zipper going, and I was just like, man, it's driving me crazy. I'm just going to toss it,
all right,
and then keep moving.
Okay.
Sorry. Now I'm going to be awesome from here on. I'm like the George Miller of this show. The most frequent guest. You know that reference, right?
Yeah,
George Miller?
Yeah, Letterman's #1 guest of all time, right?
I knew you would know that.
Of course. Yeah. So for all those who don't know, tell us about how you picked Stories as a venue. It's a pretty interesting space, because you have like a sort of like a indoor-outdoor room in the back of this funky bookstore in Echo Park. It's really
and it's easily accessible by the 2 line, the 4 line, the 704 and the 302.
Don't
I
get me
believe.
distracted. Stories LA
We're just
is
going to
the
help you
best.
the whole show.
Stories LA bookstore is like the best, and they have this back patio that's amazing. So I knew when I wanted to bring a storytelling show out here, I had certain parameters in mind. I wanted to be able to draw an audience, because I like to do street promoting. And so I needed a good bottleneck area with a lot of people who lived in the area and might rely on public transit. But also, I intended the show originally to be more music-based and more comedy-based, because my background was at least in Los Angeles, was comedy and music, because I'd been a music photographer and music writer for LA Record, and most of the people that were my friends out here knew me through that. And when I moved back to Boston, I became a storyteller. So most of my friends really didn't know me as a storyteller. And then I had opened for my friend's band Haunted Summer at Echoplex, and the owner of Echoplex, or the booker for Spaceland Promotions out of Echoplex, she's one of the owners at Stories. And so I approached her, and she also knew me from being with LA Records, so she gave me the opportunity to do that first show. And Busted had originally it meant to be a revolving theme, and public transit was going to be the first of different themes, but I wanted it to be more music based, and that's why I kind of wanted it in Echo Park. But also, I love Stories. I mean, I lived in Echo Park, before, and I have a lot of friends that work and perform in all the different venues there, and I'm really fortunate to be there, and it's been an amazing, partnership, and I call them the home terminal, and seriously, that's what we call it, and they're awesome. We get to do Echo Park Rising shows there.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
I've opened for bands, doing storytelling.
Dave, what are the public bus lines that get from Echo Park to Boston?
Well, we don't currently have a train that runs directly to the airport.
Gotcha.
I'm from Chicago originally.
Okay.
2 airports, 2 major ones, because there's the little commuter one out in the burbs that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
But we've got the train that runs direct. The orange line goes to Midway, blue line goes to O'Hare.
Like a city?
Like a real city.
Wow, yeah. LA, I think they're just getting around to that now, right? Or they are building one
finally got a train that went out to the west side.
Yeah,
I know, it's
Monica.
ridiculous.
But
Yeah.
LA does have an advantage of having the newest equipment, because it is all modern.
It's something.
Well,
It's actually easier to get a train to the Burbank airport and fly to LAX from there.
It's true.
Wow.
That's funny.
But I got to say, though, that by default, or actually, okay, I'll back up, and I want to make sure we address Katya, then I'll get into my more of the questions. So, Katya, you started Tales from the Bus, like, how long ago, and how did you wind up, was it just kind of natural how you synced up with Scott, because you got known for that first, or did Busted start first?
So I started my blog almost 4 years ago on Facebook, and one of my readers told me, there is this storytelling show, you should go check it out, and gave me Scott's information, and I think he read about Scott in LA Weekly, because there was an article. Yeah, and they said, that's so exciting. But I never really told stories before, so I was like, maybe I won't be able to do it. But let's go check it out. So I came up to Scott, and he said, hey, if you want to just read a story, that's fine. And I'm like, nah, I feel like it's too simple. So I tried it out, and that's how it all worked.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I feel like I booked you actually just reading a couple of your...
Yes, I think I wrote to you, and you said, let me check your blog out. And I think by
Ryan
then...
Talmo had referred you.
Yes, by then I was writing it for maybe 2 or 3 months. So you read a couple stories and said, hey, you should totally do it. But you're Russian, so I understand maybe you have accent, or maybe you are not comfortable, so you can
You have
read
an
it.
accent?
I do. Hey, some.
Sorry.
Hey.
What part of Boston are you from?
Hey. Anyways, yes, so he said you can read it, and I said, let me just try and tell the story.
Yeah.
And I felt weirdly comfortable, and I was like, okay, I actually do enjoy it. So.
And you guys have been colluding ever since, right? No.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, it's really interesting, because she had never done live storytelling before, and you could see her grow in these 3-4 years that she's been associated with it, like where she would always be kind of looking at me at the side stage or looking up, because English is not her first language.
Yeah, so yes, there is help coming from.
Now she's
from
one of the best
above.
storytellers in the city.
Oh, that's great. Have you crossed over into other story shows like The Moth or anything?
Oh yes, I won Moth.
way.
Exactly.
That's
exactly
awesome.
a year ago on the 8th of March. Yay!
Right.
Whee!
Right on. Okay.
Yes, and then I did Grand Slam and didn't win, but I'll try again. I think
Yeah.
I'll go back next week and.
Was it a
see.
bus story you used to win The Moth?
No, it was actually a story about Russian mafia helping me out.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a relatively... You told it in 5 minutes. Can you tell us?
Yeah. If
Off the
you
top of
want
your
to,
head? Yeah, go
if
ahead.
you
We're
want
going to
hear.
ask you guys to tell some
It's
stories.
not a
along
bus
the way.
story, but
No, that's fine. I mean,
all right?
If you don't mind, we'll
Yes.
give you
That's okay.
2 bus stories in a row.
I
for this one.
encourage the storytellers to get off the bus every now and then.
I mean, come on, if it won a moth, it's got to be great, if you don't mind.
Okay, long story short,
Yeah.
I lived in Moscow. I did a lot of translation. So somebody told me, hey, I know this bank president, not even a bank, but more like an oil company. He's writing his PhD. He needs some English sources translation. Can you do it for him? I said, of course. So I really helped the guy. He paid me. He said, I'm impressed by your work. And he's like, here's my phone number. Call me if you ever need anything. And I said, anything like what? He's like, well, just like anything imaginable. Call me if you ever have any troubles. And I'm like, why would a vice president of an oil company come to me with such a weird suggestion? But whatever. So I keep his phone number. 2 years later, I teach Russian to an American guy who wants to change apartments. So he comes to me and he says, this is terrible. This guy that I rented from, he won't give me back my deposit, $3,000.
What? Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, I remember we signed an agreement, but I can't find it. So I think the old guy came to my house when I wasn't home and he took it away. So now I have no proof that my deposit was $3,000 and nothing is ruined in the apartment. And he's like, can you help me with the way to get my money back? And I'm like, if we go to the police, we have no proof. To use the police help, we would need to probably bribe them or something. This doesn't sound right. I'm like, wait a minute, I think I know a guy. I don't know exactly what he is, but maybe he'll help. So I called the guy, I remind him of me. He's like, yeah, I remember. He's like, no worries at all. Give me the address of the old guy. At some point, you and your American friend will be picked up. You will all go to the old guy's house and get the money. I'm like, this just doesn't sound right to me. So one of these days, 2 guys in black pick us up looking like mafia or something. And we come to the old guy's house. And I'm like, please don't shoot him. He's old. Please don't beat him up. And I'm like, how are you going to get money from him? Who are you guys? Are you mafia? Are you police? They're like, don't worry about it. We were sent by this gentleman. Anyways, so they go and get the money in cash, take it out within 15 minutes. And I'm amazed. I'm like, who are these people? How did they do that? They're like, we didn't even touch the old guy. He opened the door. He saw us. He said, okay. And he brought the cash out. So I was so amazed. I tried to call the oil company guy to thank him, but his number was disconnected. So I think that was Russian mafia who only helps you once and then don't want to be found anymore.
Wow.
You only get one wish off the genie lamp.
Yep.
Not insinuating that you're an expert in this field, because, but in a situation were you to involve the police, do you tell them the guy paid a $4,000 deposit so that way the cops are going to take $1,000 and the guy still gets his $3,000?
I don't know. It's just dealing with Russian police is a bit more tricky. I heard the same story about Mexican police that they don't make a lot of money. So if you want any kind of service from them, sometimes you have to bribe them. This is a sad practice, but that's what's happening.
Also, New Orleans.
Yeah. Okay. So I was
Dave,
like,
are you in some kind of trouble?
I know, but I know a lot of people who have been.
I know people.
So anyways, that day the theme of the moth was, I think, I don't remember what it was, but I think they like my bottom line of my story, that you always expect trouble from mafia, but actually in my case mafia helped me and my friend. I think it was miracles. Wonders was the, yes.
Wow.
So that was definitely a wonder. So yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so Scott, then how did, do you have I don't know. Well, I don't know how to throw this out there, but I'm just going to say, could you tell us one of your all-time favorite stories? But there's so much time and so many stories to tell. But if you don't mind, I mean, do you have anything off top of your head that you'd like to, maybe you had a couple in your head that you wanted to bring up?
Sure. Well, I mean, I got tons of stories.
Yeah.
We're all getting undressed.
I know, right?
I know. Yeah, it's a stuffy room.
Find a way to work in the Russian mob to it if you can.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Let's see what I can find some Russians in there. And let's see. I don't have any Russian mob stories. I got punched in the face once.
Oh,
By Russian
nice.
That's just
On the bus?
That's more an anecdote.
I'm wondering, because I haven't been to the show, but I've seen you, posting on Facebook and stuff, promoting the show and looking for people with stories.
Yes.